Before you go and steal the POB linked below, I do recommend you actually watch this video. I'm going to be explaining modern Slayer Shockwave Cyclone. Okay, it's been years probably since you've played good old Slayer Cyclone. All right, probably Legion League if I were to guess. Well, it's time to come home to the most comfy, like, speed mapper that exists in Melee, where you start the spin with no animation, you don't stop moving, you hit the whole screen, everything explodes with shockwave, and it just feels good. Okay, Slayer Cyclone's damage went up by 3 times. I thought it got doubled. Okay, I think we all probably just thought it got doubled. But this had 3 to 5 million mapping DPS, and now it is 10 to 17 million mapping DPS. And what I mean by that is the not having conditional buffs like have you killed recently, Pride at initial effectiveness, you're looking at around 10 million. And when you do have those active, it's around 17 million now. When before, it would be a range of 3 to 5 million, not counting when you drop totems. Totems never lasted long for Cyclone. We didn't scale off of them well anyways, but we would get a couple mil from it. So we got huge buffs, and the quality of life is top-notch. So in this guide, I have a bunch of POBs that are prepared. First, yes, this is my 3.24 Necropolis character, just poured it in with some changes. You will notice, before I get questioned about this, that it has not capped resists. It had capped resists. It had 8 endurance charges all the time, and in Slayer Cyclone stacks endurance charges, and we'll go into how the mechanics work. But they used to give 32 all res. Okay, they don't anymore. They give something better. They give, ETR, elemental damage reduction. So net benefit. But so when you see this and it says, wow, it wasn't capped, all right, the character could do T17s. It wasn't great at them. It wasn't made for that. It was for speed clearing T16s, which is what Cyclone is for. You just want to relax, press one button, everything dies, and you go and pick up some stuff afterwards. You're home. I'm going to detail how you build this, but most importantly, I'm going to detail how you level this character and why you take certain things at specific breakpoints. So this is the POB you want to look at. Over here in the notes section, I have every single vendor reward. So like, you're going to kill Brutus, you take Leap Slam, and then you're going to buy Faster Attacks and Life Tap for it. You're also going to buy Intimidating Cry, Precision, and Maim. I've also encoded what colors they are, so let's make it easier. And you'll go through and you'll see the different like link setups, and once you can finally go to Cyclone, this is what you're going to look at, right? All this stuff is here in the notes section, so you have it open while you are going through the campaign. And this character is not bad or slow through the campaign. You can go through the campaign in 4 hours. It's good. It's not 3 hours, right? Like a racer playing a Sunderbuild. And so, yes, rip off that band-aid. To go through the campaign faster and get into maps faster, use Sunder as far and as long as you can. But you're here to play Cyclone, so I have detailed and gone through every breakpoint so that you can play Cyclone and it will be good. Okay? So, let's dig into it. Your first points are going to come down here. You're going to rush through this way. You're not going to go through these notes, even though these are nice. You're going to rush straight here to get Destroyer, because that means you can get these nodes before Brutus. Okay? And you can get your intelligence as you come this way, so you can start doing Life Tap and Leap Slam and faster attacks. Okay? You can already do all that stuff. This gives you the int that you need. And then you're going to come over here. You get leech and damage, and more importantly, the two-handed mastery for 40% increased damage with hits against rare and unique enemies. And this mastery you get at level 12 at the exact point in time that you can equip Sunder and just obliterate Merveil. Okay, so that was very important that we do that in that order at the very beginning. So we can't waste any points. All right. And again, you have the option of life tapping all of those things. So even if you were having mana issues with the changes, you won't. And I detail that all in the notes. Now, the next is what you're going to be doing for your pathing towards getting your first ascendancy point. Okay. You come down, go through bloodless, and we're rushing the rage node here. So we get rage on hit, get some max rage, but more importantly, we get 3 rage when we're hit, and rage is going to give us some armor, and armor is good. But here's the thing, we're rushing for this mastery. Nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. That is them taking 10% increased attack damage. That is another 10% more multiplier at this stage of the game, because they don't have any other source of increased damage taken. Plus, rage is a more damage multiplier. Okay, then you're going to come over, you're going to get Bastion Breaker. It's really good. Gives you some more hits, ignore enemy PDR, just like this also had 30. So now you're at 80 ignore PDR, which is really good. And the likelihood is you are going to be life tapping, and if you're not life tapping, you're about to be life tapping when you go Cyclone. So we're just taking this mastery, 40% increased physical damage with skills that cost life. Increase is still very powerful at this stage of the game, and it makes up for the using a link in your skill gems that has a smaller, more multiplier, because the magnitude of the increase still matters a lot at this point in the game. All right, and you just come over and pick up Destroyer. It gives you some nice AoE. It makes your Sunder just feel better. And the next few points, we come over here to grab this. Then you can see this melee strike range. And if you don't understand how Cyclone works, you might be confused by this. So coming through here, that is 0.6 meters melee strike range, and another 0.3, so 0.9. That is 90% increased area of effect for Cyclone. At the same time, right, so this is just after we've killed Act 3, and we entered into Act 4, right? You get Impact, right, which is another 0.4 to melee strike range, just another 40 AoE, and 50 AoE if we've been killing enemies recently. And more damage based on proximity, and more accuracy. So, with those two things, you get Impact and you get this, you get 180% increased area of effect for Cyclone, while you are just killing stuff with your Shockwave, Cyclone, Life Tap, the 3-link, going through the campaign. And again, I've noted exactly what you are taking at every level to go through and be able to do this, okay? To be able to make this swap, what auras you're using. And on that note, one of these is gonna stand out. There's a couple things where I have like exclamation points, all right, like Shockwave at level 18 in Act 2. You need to immediately use this, and you'll swap this out instead of Ruthless if you have a Macer Staff, because you need a Macer Staff to use Shockwave, and Shockwave is money. It's good, okay? And so if you don't have a Macer Staff, just put it in your offhand and keep leveling it. Keep using an axe for Sunder. It's okay. Just do not have a situation where Shockwave is sitting in your inventory and not getting leveled, all right? It's very important. Shockwave is your primary damage source. Okay, Shockwave is nuts, and Shockwave got buffed, and Cyclone got buffed, so the build got buffed, okay? The other thing I really want to draw a lot of attention to, and the reason why I mentioned this here, Butcher's Mark. Poacher's Mark is insane. You can get this at level 16 after you kill Fidelitas, when you also get your Blood Rage, when you also get your Herald of Purity, right? You also get Poacher's Mark. And you probably don't know what Poacher's Mark does. So, Poacher's Mark, ignore the whole life and mana when hit, which is nice sustain. Ignore the minus 20 PDR. Doesn't matter. Do you see that last line? Adds 30 to 45 physical damage to hits against cursed enemies at level 20. Okay, so that's at level 20. But if it's level 1, okay, right when you get it, it's still 3 to 4. It's still like almost 2 iron rings equipped to your character. And you think, oh, that's not that big of a deal. But all of the skill gems had their flat removed and their effectiveness of added damage multiplied. So Poacher's Mark got giga buffed this patch. I mean insanely buffed. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, that, 30 to 45 doesn't seem impressive. Well, let's look at our next thing when we're going to go over here and grab, precise technique, get another 40% more damage. Do have to come over here first to get an accuracy cluster. But what's going to be right after that? We're going to come over here and get increased effect of your marks. So you get 8, and 20, so 36% increased effect of your marks. And your mark you're gonna gain frenzy charges when you hit your marked enemy. So what you're gonna find, ignore that, is that as you go to your second lab, you get your best ascendancy point in the game. Like the reason you go Slayer, right, is masterful form. Let me just move this way. All right, for +1 max frenzies, and your max frenzy charges is what your endurance charges go up to. Incredible. Like you get this at level 55, and you have 6 frenzy charges with this tree, which means you have 6 endurance charges already. And you have endurance charge on kill, plus you have blood rage for more endurance charge on kill. You get increased damage per frenzy charge, and so that your charges don't fall off, you have increased charge duration. And you get to keep your endurance charges, which is really good. Okay, but alright, I forgot to click it at this point, but literally before you grab this node, you're going to grab this. So what this does, so you're going to Poacher's Mark on the boss, because you get frenzy charges when you kill, but not necessarily when you any other source when you're bossing. But this means that you will never drop your frenzy charges, and you get 36% increased effective marks. If you do the math, 36% increased effective marks increases this physical damage with hits against cursed enemies to go up to a 51 average, which is the same as Abyssus. Okay, Poacher's Mark literally scales to being the same as Abyssus. So it starts off when you get it at level 16 being awesome. It's like I just added 2 iron rings to my character when I'm bossing, which is better than it was before, to now when you're at a higher level being Abyssus. Okay, Poacher's Mark is really good. I expect Poacher's Mark to get nerfed. It is like that good. Like Endgame, if you're going to use precise technique for a long time, when you go crit, it is beneficial to go Assassin's Mark if you need it to cap your crit out. As soon as you can cap your crit out, you want to like dual curse and do Poacher's Mark and vulnerability, and it's not close. Those two combined with that is just leagues above everything. It's really, 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 really strong. All right, let's continue this tree. We want to come up over here and get our frenzy charge again. The important thing here was that we were getting our frenzy charge, which is endurance charge stacking, when right after that we're going to get our endurance charge on kill sources to be a bit better. so that we have those when we're mapping. And we have Enduring Cry because we bought that early. Okay, and so you get endurance charges as you're going through your maps from just killing things, and endurance charge on melee stun. So you just have great endurance charge generation mapping, and you'll lose it when you're bossing. So as soon as you see the boss, you're going to go and you're going to Enduring Cry, because it's going to give you 2 endurance charges because they have 20 power, which resets your endurance charge duration. And again, we have 100% increased charge duration. You're going to drop your banner. You already have cursed them when you're like running up to them. Okay, you can drop your poacher's mark, right? And you're going to murder them, and your frenzy charge and endurance charges are not going to fall off on the boss. Okay, with no items required, no uniques required, nothing, just using the tree and 2 skill gems that are available to us. Okay, all right. We get lucky spell suppression with Inveterate, and it actually brings our spell suppression to 72%, just without anything else. Yeah, we're gonna path through life, and this is some other spell suppression on life. It's just good. We come up here, get some life, get the other frenzy charge, and this is at the point where you're going to be entering maps. Also, I need to put this back in. It's okay. Don't worry. I'll update this when it's in. That's important. But you're level 70, you're into maps. From here, all right, I just want to say, this is the skeleton. This is getting you into maps. Where you want to take it from here, you have options. All right. I've outlined how you can fill out your tree over here by going for a restless ward, okay? And restless ward is what I was using in my 3.24 build. The reason why I'm using this is because it gives a ton of life regen. I have over 900 life regen per second on this character, and you get a bunch of move speed, and you get a bunch of evasion and ES, and you use grace, and because you have so much, you can use Ghost Dance, plus these nodes appear to give you just enough ES that your ghost shrouds are popping off, and they are completely filling your like 800 ES pool to full. So you have this incredible defensive layer, you get a bunch of sustain, you still have leech with 10% instant leech, so you have this hybrid source of sustained. You can still do cannot regen maps, you can still do cannot leech maps, something a normal build can't do. So this again is you can look at my existing character, you can see some of the interesting tech, like Apprentice Pact is back. Apprentice Pact in this spot with these nodes gives 144% increased physical damage because it affects 26 nodes off the top of my head. I would have to do the math again, but point is, it's this spot for Apprentice Pact is insane, and you should definitely do it even if you drop these 3 nodes for efficiency. You only grab this node if you're going crit, and my character was crit build. That's why I have these crit nodes. That's why I have this for more crit. I should mention that if you're gonna go crit these days, you can actually, as long as you have a bleed chance here, you can get 30% chance to bleed. You grab this mastery, and so it's 80% inside the mastery, 80 here, and then 15 and 15. So you get like 180 or 190 increased crit chance against bleeding enemies. This is incredible money. You should probably path here if you go crit. Pick this up, path through here, and then drop this point. Just FYI for optimization for 3.25. Obviously, this was not this way in 3.24, so I didn't do it. Obviously, you can have a good timeless jewel slot here. I show you what clusters you probably want to use. You really want to use Overlord. You want one cluster with Overlord just because melee hits with maces, scepters, or staves fortify for 6 seconds, so you just have fortify. It's kind of more important than getting like your towering threat and titanic swings and all that stuff, but I want you to look at this so you can get inspiration of stuff you can steal for a high level build. But I want you to be able to. So okay, I can go that way. Restless Ward is cheap. I can get that. I can get Dark Ray Vectors. I can have 8 Frenzy charges and 8 Endurance charges, and I can like do that stuff on a super cool budget, and it's like tanky. Or you have another choice completely. You could say, fuck all that. I'm gonna get a bunch of armor. I'm gonna go Volpact, baby. Volpact is back. Volpact is insane. Volpact is so good. It's probably better. I have these awesome layered defenses that were great for fucking T17s. I don't know. Volpact's probably better than that shit. Life Leech is instant. Okay. It's really good. So what else does this version of this tree have that I just put together? Over here, you get a bunch of max valor. You get plus 55, so you have 105 max valor. Banners also cause enemies to take 8% increased damage. You come over, you grab this other banner having increased aura effect, and you get your Champion of the Claws. If you want to understand how this math works, please go watch Dreamcore's video about banner scaling. Okay? War Banner normally does 24% more melee damage when you drop it if you have max valor. With those 3 clusters, right, one of which you fucking want anyways, okay, take that up to 105 max valor and a bunch of effect, and you do 72% more melee damage while the banner is active, and you get another 8% increased damage taken, which is, you know, going to be additive with the Intimidate. On that note, as soon as you get Awakened Melee Fizz 5 and you have Intimidate on hit, you swap the Rage Mastery out and you use the max 7 Rage, right? There's a 7 max Rage. Okay. You would take that instead. But those are things that you're going to get later on. Yeah. The other benefit of going like this is that you don't really need any clusters. It's gonna get value, but you can also do a version of this where you drop Precise Technique and you go crit. This is not solved. Impale got buffed. We don't know what the best final version of Slayer Cyclone is. If you drop Shockwave, your mapping experience is worse. However, you can have much higher single target damage, and crit Impale Cyclone builds may possibly be able to hit like 100 mil DPS this league. And so if you really want to min-max a character and be able to do Ubers in softcore asterisk, you could do that. And you would like swap to Arn's Anguish for brutal charges instead of endurance charges to be able to hit those numbers. By the way, that's also what I want to talk about here real quick, because you're going to notice on this endgame character, there are things that you definitely want to grab. Like you want an All's Uprising for either free Pride or free Determination if you use Determination, or free Grace if you use Grace. You know, an aura that you use for free. You're going to look at Arn's Anguish, which you get brutal charges instead of endurance charges, which are awesome, especially when you're endurance charge stacking. But you cannot get this item unless you have Relicash and Patience first, because you will be giving up all of your endurance charges to get those brutal charges. And just refresher for everyone, brutal charges say 3% chance for triple damage per brutal charge. And so at 8 of those, that's 24% chance for triple damage, which comes out to almost 50% just more damage if you do the math. And it's really good. And when you have a high crit, that also rolls for triple damage on a shockwave hit, like you will visibly see the boss just get chunked, and it's pretty nice. But you will die if you put this thing on without Relic Ash and Patience first, because you won't have endurance charges, and the whole reason we're playing Slayer is for endurance charges. Alright, so with that said, what are some really cheap things that you can get on this build to get you going? I highly recommend as uniques that you get Dark Ray Vectors. It's going to be an early buy for your boots, because it gives you +1 max frenzy, which is going to give you +1 max endurance charge, and that'll put you to 8. So you'll have a pretty good move speed. So you get move speed per frenzy charge. And if you like the way this build looks, you can take a look at, Restless Ward, where you also get move speed per frenzy charge. And you can do the Ghost Dance stuff. Restless Ward is usually very cheap. But again, you can't do this and go Volpact, because Volpact turns off your life regen. So if you want to go armor scaling, don't go Restless Ward, go Volpact. You have been notified. Because we're not using Slayer Leech, we can actually use Tanuahis, which is why we get to have Adrenaline and Onslaught. And you're not going to get Tanuahis like that. They'll be honest, yeah, you're not going to have +1 max frenzy and fall on hit. But Tanuahis are cheap. It's not even optimal. You don't want a low level fall on hit to be what is cast on a boss. It's kind of nice for clearing, but it actually lowers your damage on single target. The low level fall on hit is not good. It would be much better if it had attack crit. So that's the other crit implicit. You're probably best off taking some Warlord +1 max frenzy gloves with some attack speed, right? You can craft some shit, all right, that will just be always good, and not at the whim of the marketplace, because +1 max frenzy Tanuahis for the past year and a half have been 1 divine after 1 week into the league, and they stay about 1 divine the whole league. Yet that won't be this case this league. I don't know how expensive +1 max frenzy Tanuahis are going to be, but I know it's going to be expensive. Tanuahis, you need to be life tapping, or having a life cost, and then constantly filling and flickering and shutting off your leech. It should work with Volpact 100% of the time. Every single Volpact leech should be an instance of leech that ends immediately. Therefore, leech was removed by filling unreserved life, I think. Tanuahi has never been in the game while Volpact has been in the game. FAQ is probably needed, but I know it works with the regular leech and instant leech, and I have Adrenaline all the time, so they're pretty nice to grab. 100% increased damage from Adrenaline is nice. Anyway, that's the build. That's the important stuff. You need it as big of a stick as you can get. Just put on. The reason why I don't have a bunch of items in here is because that is pointless. You are going to be always upgrading your weapon all the time. There are ways to make a weapon. I highly recommend, especially right when you go Cyclone, is that you get a good war stave or mace, like the best one you can get in Act 4, because you get better bases there optionally. And you do the blacksmith whetstone plus rare belt, craft to get them to be, have increased physical damage on it, and then whetstone it to give it quality. If you don't have a good weapon at that point in time, because there's no flat on Cyclone anymore, so you need a good weapon. And yeah, that's it. You guys have a good day. I will be missing the first week of the league because I'm going to be on vacation. So I will be playing the second weekend of the league, so do not expect a build update, day 2, day 3 progression type of thing, which sucks because I really want to do the league start this time. I love playing Cyclone Slayer. It is awesome. And yeah, I'll probably drop a video on the end of week 2 or 3 going over the optimizations that people have found. Maybe we will see. We are all in this together to see what makes this into the best build. But I have provided you the skeleton, a great skeleton, and it's your job to flesh it out. Peace out. I'm Skinner.